Let's head into the newscast with the latest coming in from Thailand as anti-government protests continue in Thailand. In the latest, young demonstrators are now criticizing the monarchy and calling for curbs on the king's powers. While anti-establishment protests are not uncommon, demonstrations against the monarchy is extremely rare, mostly because such an act is punishable under the law. Protesters who criticize the king face up to 15 years in jail. Protesters wearing striped Harry Potter scarves rallied against the government, vowing to cast a spell for democracy. The demonstrations were part of a large movement against the military-aligned government of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. The protests organizers said that they chose Harry Potter as a theme because the famous book series as well as the movies are very popular among youngsters.
อย่างน้อยๆวรรณกรรมแฮร์รี่พอตเตอร์ค่ะก็เป็นวรรณกรรมที่มีชื่อเสียงแล้วก็มีความนิยมมากในประเทศไทยแล้วก็ในโลกนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นหนูเลยมองว่าเราอาจจะดึงดูดแฟนๆแฮร์รี่พอตเตอร์ให้กลับมาสนใจในเรื่องประชาธิปไตยได้อีก
Insulting or defaming the Thai monarchy is a criminal offence and complaints can be filed against anyone. The use of law to protect the monarchy has been rising since the 2014 military coup. The Thai military is a staunch royalist. The Thai monarchy's power increased drastically after King Vajiralongkorn took the throne in 2016. The constitution was revised to give the king greater emergency powers. He has since taken personal control over some army units and palace assets worth billions of dollars. For more details, I am currently joined by John Laffa, a journalist based in Bangkok. A very warm welcome to you, John. Thank you for joining us on this broadcast. Let me begin by asking you, why are the protesters demanding a reform of Thai laws?
Well, there's been some opposition to the changeover of monarchy since the death of King Bhumibol. The current king has not spent as much time in Thailand as his father did, and the young people are finding that to be unacceptable, especially in this day and age of a global pandemic where countries need all the rallying forces that they can gather.
Right. John, more often criticisms of the monarchy in Thailand have been veiled. Is this the first time it has been so open? And how is this protest expected to pan out in a nation where criticizing the monarchy is a punishable offence?
Yes, these are definitely unprecedented times with the student movement. Well, not for some considerable time has there been such activity in the student movement, student base in Thailand. In the past, those movements have not ended well, with many deaths. The young people coming out on the streets at the moment obviously venting a frustration that there's a disconnect between the youth of Thailand and between the government. This bridge needs to be crossed, and it needs to be crossed urgently. Calling for reforms to the Lèse-Majesté law is a very bold step. It's very confrontational with the government and with the monarchy. And at the moment, the government has shown considerable restraint. In fact, Prime Minister Chan-o-cha said a week ago that King Vajiralongkorn had instructed him not to use the Lèse-Majesté law against protesters. But that, of course, leaves many other laws in Thailand open, including the Computer Crimes Act. So not using the Lèse-Majesté law is one aspect of it, but the penalties are just as harsh under the Computer Crimes Act.
Right. Also, John, do the ongoing protests now reflect a stark contrast between the current king and his father, King Bhumibol Adulyadej?
I'm sorry?
Do these protests reflect a stark contrast between the administration between the current king and his father, King Bhumibol Adulyadej?
Yes, well, King Bhumibol was resident in Thailand from the 70s onwards and never left, whereas King Vajiralongkorn has been out of the country considerably more. So there's a definite difference in the ruling styles. But that said, King Vajiralongkorn has also been very reactive at different times when the wild boar rescue situation was happening a year ago to get the football team out of the cave. It was the palace that sponsored the catering and sponsored lots and lots of the early rescue stages. The palace is involved in doing things a lot more quietly, but a lot more frequently as well than what happened in the past. So there's definitely a difference in the ruling style.
All right, and we'll have to actually wait and watch if these protests will impact the current king or not. For now, thank you so much, John, for joining us.